Over the course of 2021, small businesses and local businesses in particular have faced a variety of challenges. These challenges, for the most part, have been imposed by the federal government and sometimes state and local governments. But there are a lot of things that you're dealing with now that you weren't necessarily dealing with in 2020. 2020 was a challenging year for local businesses as well, but we have seen additional challenges in 2021. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those challenges that you may have been facing in the past year. So one that I know a ton of businesses are dealing with is worker shortages. It's very difficult to find employees. It's difficult to find employees of all experience levels, from entry point employees to higher level employees, or even independent contractors. It has been really a byproduct, in my opinion, of the stimulus and the benefits of not working. It's also in part due to a lot of the fears surrounding COVID and, really this push that, if you work, if you go to a job, you're going to get COVID and die. So I don't know how many people fall into either category, but all I know is there is a significant shortage of workers in our economy in general. Part of that is that a lot of people have been withdrawing from the workforce overall. This could be due to schools being closed and all of the disruptions in schools and parents realizing, hey, I can't deal with this. We need to keep one of our parents home so that they can either homeschool or be there with the kids. We can't continue to have two parents working in the household while, worrying that our kid's going to have to quarantine for 10 days because someone who sits next to them tested positive for COVID. I know a ton of parents who've had to deal with that. It's very, very difficult to make it work. So, you've got one group of people that's withdrawing from the workplace. You've got another group that is simply not looking for work, that maybe was previously looking for work, but now they're not. They've gotten stimulus checks and unemployment and benefits, and they just don't really see the need to find work right now. So this places a variety of challenges on businesses. One of them is that obviously you need employees and team members to help you run your business. For businesses that are more focused online, it's a bit easier because you don't have to rely on your local workforce. You can seek out help from all over the world. But businesses that are local, especially service-based businesses like restaurants or lawn care and landscaping and construction, you can't operate without staff to help you. Otherwise, you're going to be forced to do all the work yourself, which is extremely difficult if you're going to be running a business. So you really need to think about, how are you going to overcome those things? One way that you can do that is through automation. Automation is the ability to really offload a lot of the tasks that would be done in your business to allow them to be done automatically through technology instead of having a manual person doing those specific tasks. If you do that, that means that you need fewer workers or fewer team members to run your business so that you might be able to deal with it a little bit better. There are obviously positions that cannot be automated. If you are in a landscaping business and you need people to actually go out there and mow lawns, that can't be automated. So you are going to have to find those people. But it does mean that your administrative team and the people who are doing the office work or the management side, there are a lot of ways to automate that process so that maybe you could be the only one doing it, but you're not having to do all those tasks yourself. Because of the worker shortages, you might be forced to have to pay more for different employees because you really need them, and other businesses are offering increased pay because they're dealing with the same things, and that really may be hurting your profits. And so something else that you really want to think about is, how can we increase our margins? And by decreasing your overhead, you're going to be able to do that. And so decreasing your overhead could also come through technical programs and systems that allow you to run your business without maybe a physical location or without certain things that you were used to in the past. So it could mean more of a transition to an online style business. Even if you are a local business, but allowing your customers or your prospects to do everything or as much as they can do online instead of maybe coming to a physical location, so that you can reduce your overhead, so that you do have more cash on hand to be able to pay a little bit more for those positions, and then also reduce your staff in the process. So again, I know it's a huge issue for a lot of people, and they're not always really easy solutions, but those are some things that you can do to try and fight against that. We're also seeing increased taxes being proposed, and business owners are going to get hit pretty hard with this. So I'd say now more than ever, you really need to be looking into financial planning and someone to help you with tax planning, as opposed to just doing your taxes the same way that you've done every year. You really need to be thinking about how to invest your money in a very smart way to reduce your tax burden, so that you do have more money to be able to operate your business and invest in good team members and employees, and still be able to keep that profit. Another issue that you may be facing are supply chain issues. This is a really big deal for anyone who's in the retail space, anyone who needs materials on hand to operate their business, such as a restaurant. And these are pretty significant challenges. One thing that you really can do is to simplify your product and service offerings. You may want to look at everything that you have and say, okay, do I need to be offering everything that I'm offering? If there are things that people don't order very frequently or don't buy as often, do you really need to keep those in stock and on hand? This can be something that may not be ideal, but it can reduce the money that you may be spending or wasting by having certain things that you don't necessarily need. It also could mean that you need to, again, kind of transition your business into more of an online on-demand format. So if you're in retail, it might mean offering more things to be purchased online that are directly shipped to the consumer, as opposed to keeping them in stock in your store. Again, certain things are going to be challenging no matter what, but those are some things that you can think about to deal with some of those supply chain issues. I think most people are well aware of these issues at this time, so I don't know that any additional delays are really going to look bad on you as a business owner, but I do think telling your customer base up front, if you're dealing with any disruptions in your supply chain, it's always a great thing to just give people a heads up and let them know, so that they are not caught off guard on the back end if things are taking a lot longer to actually be delivered to them as compared to they would have been, maybe last year. So communication with your audience is important, and sending more emails, staying really up to date with the things that are happening and sharing that with your audience through ads or content. That's another really great way to at least prepare your customer base for any changes that might be taking place. Another one would be inflation. And I know that this is hitting everyone equally as hard. And, you've got a few things that you need to consider. Number one, are you going to let inflation hurt you and reduce your profits and potentially your ability to stay in business? Or are you going to be passing those costs on to the consumer? So that is typically what most businesses end up doing, is passing those costs on to the consumer. Most of us don't want to do that. We don't want to have to raise our prices. But ultimately, depending on what your margins are, that may be something that you have to do. Again, it may be a different strategy that you need to implement to overcome some of this. And one of those things might be selling more information or digital products. For some of you that are listening, that is something that you're already doing or you're very familiar with. But if you're more on the local business side, then that may not be something that you have ever considered. But I'll give you a really great example. So one of my new students in my local marketing mastery mentorship program, he is a paint store. So he's a physical bricks and mortar paint store in a local area. He sells paint to painting contractors, obviously. Then he also sells paint to individuals. Well, due to his margins not being tremendously high on the paint side, he's going to be adding several new product offerings, such as flooring or window treatments that complement his original offering that are higher margin and are sometimes larger sales. So that is one thing that he can do. But another thing is he's actually going to be creating a mini course on how to paint your kitchen cabinets. So kitchen cabinet paint and furniture paint, that's a really great market for him. It doesn't really conflict with the painting contractors that he sells to because most of them don't want to do that type of project anyway. But this is something that consumers really want to know about. There's a lot of information that they need, and this is a project a lot of homeowners will take on themselves, but they do need to know how to do it because painting your kitchen cabinets, if you do it wrong, you can mess things up significantly. And so he's going to be creating videos on how they can actually do this. He's also going to be creating bundle packages that will be offered through that course so that people can buy everything that they need in one spot. Once he's acquired them, he's already made some money off of them on a product that is not physical. It doesn't have to be delivered. There's no shipping cost. There's no product cost. And then he's also going to compile a list of all of the different things they might also need, such as cabinet hardware. Maybe they want to buy new cabinet doors or hinges. Maybe they want to buy some additional countertops. So he can link to those different things through this course, and he can set up affiliate accounts with those companies, and he can actually make money whenever somebody buys those products through his site or through his links. So he is a physical local business, bricks and mortar retail store, but he's going to be selling an information product, and I'm going to be helping him do that, set that up, launch that, make that profitable. That income is really great because it has no bearing on supply chain issues. Inflation is not really a concern there because it's information. There is no physical cost of the goods that he's selling. And it also helps with the worker shortages because you're selling something digital. You're taking your knowledge and your expertise in whatever business you're in, and you're monetizing that knowledge for the people out there that want to know how to do it. And I can guarantee you that everyone listening right now, you have something that you could do that with. You might just need the guidance and how to produce that, how to sell that, how to really maximize the profits from that. But you do have an opportunity to do that, and you should strongly, strongly consider it. Another thing that you might be dealing with is increased competition from these big e-commerce or online giants such as Amazon or any of those other platforms, maybe Zillow getting into the real estate market. A lot of things are changing where these big companies that maybe in the past weren't a competitor, they may have actually been selling to you or a partner with you in some way. Now they're actually trying to take that business from you. And there are a lot of issues around this that I see. One of them is that federal legislation is actually really supporting them and giving them preference in a lot of ways at your expense, which I find horrible because local businesses are the heart of every community. But there's only so much that you can do about that outside of, hoping that you can elect great people into your state legislature and into, Congress through your state that will actually fight to support the interest of small business owners, which I hope all of you are really focusing on because it does matter. All of these things matter in terms of who we elect, people who really care about these things. But you can also really put yourself out there and advertise in a more direct way to try and reach those consumers in a way that these big companies are not necessarily doing. You can do that by connecting with them on a personal level through video content, getting in front of them on social media with YouTube ads, things that will set your business apart and really try and capture that business before they have the opportunity to buy it somewhere else. So one reason why those companies are so successful is because they have made convenience a high priority. And that's something that local businesses especially have really struggled to do. And that all comes down to the process that your customers have to go through in order to buy from you. So if you have not yet transitioned to a fully online setup for your prospects or customers to utilize, whether that is to schedule their appointments online or to buy online, even if they have to come pick it up from you in store, still letting them buy online, seeing the inventory, seeing different visualizers online to let them see how things may look or work for them, then you're not doing a great job of overcoming that. So there are a lot of different ways that you can make the process easier for your potential customers. I still see so many local businesses that the only way that someone can schedule an appointment at the chiropractic office is to, call the phone number and schedule on the phone. Well, there's a lot of times when someone may need an appointment, they don't have time, or maybe they're not in a position to be able to call. They would just simply book online if you would only let them. So take a look at your internal processes and ask yourself, how can I make this easier for my customer to buy from me or to get started with me? And for the most part, that's making sure that everything's available online, that they can do as much as humanly possible online without having to talk to a real person or call in, or that you can at least get all of the necessary information from them online, and then you can, follow up with them at a later date. But if you are service-based, you need to be using automated appointment booking or call booking. And if you are selling a product or even a service, you need to let people do that online. I don't care what it is. There is the opportunity for you to do that, and you're making it harder for yourself. You're making it harder for your customers if you are not doing that. That's a huge part of what I help my students with in my local marketing mastery program, and what I help clients with when we do our build and scale packages for them. We're setting up their entire online systems so that they can manage that internally if they are not confident that they could set that up themselves. So you really need to be focused on that. Another thing I would say is that I've noticed a lot of behavioral changes in terms of consumers since the pandemic began. And I think a huge part of that is the lockdowns, the restrictions, the masking, the fear campaigns that have been pushed out. In all honesty, people's buying behavior is not the same as it was before. People are less likely to go out and just casually shop for things in store. They're also a little less likely to go to some of the seminars potentially. So seminars used to be a huge thing that we would help our clients with, and they were always really successful. And granted, we have only just started dipping our toe back into that again, but we have seen that while we'll still get the same amount of registrations and even confirmations of people that will show up, we're seeing fewer people actually show up to those in person. And that's for free events. I think if people pay for something, they're a lot more likely to go. So it may be just charging a small amount of money for those events in the future, knowing that even if everyone doesn't show up, you still made money off of the ticket, and anyone who's a buyer is much likely to be a buyer again in the future. So the simple fact of them opening up their wallet and breaking out their credit card for you is a sign that it's going to be easier to get them to purchase again in the future. So that, as well as, like I said, people are less likely to just go out and kind of casually shop at a lot of different stores and just see what catches their eye. They're doing a lot more shopping online first. So you need to be able to clearly show your inventory and what you have to offer, and make it really, really easy for people to see what's available, so they know if they want to go and shop with you, or they know that you have a service that fits exactly what they need. And again, like I mentioned before, if you are selling something and you are not going to deliver it, that's fine. Show your inventory, let people use these visualizers or these different tools so they can really get a close-up look at the product, and then let them buy online and pick up in store. That way they know that their purchase is being held for them, and they know that they don't have to go to a lot of different places to find what they need. But you're really just taking payment online. You don't have to do anything different in terms of your internal processes outside of just having a pickup area for orders that were purchased online. So there are a lot of different challenges that we've been faced with, and none of them have to, break our spirit or crush our businesses, but you do need to be adapting. This is not the time to do things the way that you've always done them. You've got to step up and make a change. You've got to do it now. Otherwise, you will be left behind. So don't wait. Make this year, 2022, the year that you take control. You transition your systems. You find new and creative ways to do things, ways to reach your customers, and you advertise to them where they are, which is online. If you're not using Facebook and Instagram ads, if you're not using YouTube ads or Google ads, you are really missing the mark, because that is where your client base is. I don't care what your business is, they are there. You need to be getting in front of them first. I appreciate you taking this time with me, and I would absolutely love to hear from you. Find me on social media. You can DM me on Instagram at Allie Bloyd Media. I'd love to hear from you, and I just am really grateful to be able to serve you guys this year and in the next. So have a wonderful new year, and I'll see you in 2022.